Okay, so when you're working with patterns and they ask you for a term like the 32nd term in our example here, it gets a little more complicated. You know, if I just want the fifth term, I can continue the pattern, but to continue the pattern on and on and on and on and on until I get to the 32nd spot is just going to take up way too much time. So this is when our understanding of the explicit formula comes to the rescue and makes this question go quite quickly. So again, the two things we need to know are the first term and the common difference. And then what we'll need to know in this particular type of question is which term they want. Asked for. Okay, so let's try to identify all this information for this particular pattern. So in this pattern, we know that we start with -3. As for what the actual change is each time, this is pretty challenging with this one because, again, it's a lot of negatives, not my favorite. First, I would notice, is it getting more or less negative? In this case, it's getting more negative, so that means we are subtracting. And then if we're subtracting and we're getting more negative, just think how far apart these two negative values are on the number line. And in this case, it seems to be subtracting 7 each time. So I know that's going to be, oops, I got my colors backwards. There we go. So that's going to be -7. And I'm going to go ahead and just set it up like my formula first. So in the previous video, this is all you had to do, was come up with your explicit formula. And then what I'm asking you to do here is one more step. Now I want you to use that formula to find the 32nd term, which is what we're going to plug in for that n variable that we still have in our formula. So now to find a sub 37, or sorry, not 37, 32, we're going to keep everything else the same. We're starting with -3, we're subtracting 7, and we're going to subtract it 32 minus 1 times. And again, the reason we have that is because if we're starting on term 1 and we're hopping to term 32, we're going to hop one less than the number of terms we have. And so then it's just a matter of simplifying this carefully and remembering your order of operations. Okay, so before I can actually do the -7 step, I need to simplify the parentheses. And then again, this is where we make mistakes. I cannot do this step first. I have to do multiplication first. Okay, so that's really -3 minus, and then 7 times 31. Ugh, I don't know what that is. Ooh. I'm having a hard time here. There we go. Minus 217. So it just gets more negative. They have the same sign. We combine them and keep the sign, so it becomes -220. So then you would be able to tell me that the 32nd term in that pattern is -220. So again, everything's the same as the first video. You find the first term and the common difference. The new part now is we're actually plugging something in and evaluating our equation. That allows us to find any term in the pattern we want. If it was the 15th term, we'd put a 15 here. If it was the 100th term, a 100 goes here, and so forth.